For this video, I'm going to put myself in the robes of a Heian-era courtier. That's better. I can't take myself seriously. Just give me a minute. Whew. Okay. If I was to send a poem to a lovely lady of the Heian-era, how would I feel when sending such a poem? You know, I've never seen the face of the lady I'm sending it to. I wouldn't know if she's happy to receive it. Would she feel inconvenienced? Would she even reply? Will her calligraphy be any good? Oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry, I need to focus, I need to lock in. So anyway, the process of falling in love in the 9th to the 12th century is actually a little bit different to how we would do that today. So swap out your dating apps and switch it up for an in-person matchmaker, and let's learn how to woo Heian style. Yay! I am clearly a white woman from England and not a 10th century Japanese male courtier of the Heian nobility, but let's just pretend that I am, okay? I'm in search of a woman. I'm lonely. I want someone to love. It all starts with a matchmaker. So the law was that boys could marry from the age of 14 and girls from 12, but I mean, the rules were made to be broken. Boys usually started searching for a wife after their coming of age ceremony, which was about 12, and this process began with a matchmaker. Now the matchmaker would come to the boy's family and tell them, hello, I found you a lovely lady, you know, she's 13 years old, she's amazing at playing the koto, and she would make a wonderful match for your son. And the family would be like, yay, it's time for our son to dive into the world of love. So this would start by the boy, or more likely someone in the family, writing a 31 syllable poem and sending it off to the lady herself. Let me read you an example. Yielding to a love that recognises no bounds, I will go by night, for the world will not censure one who treads the path of dreams. So this beautiful letter is then rushed to the girl's home and delivered. Now, she will write a response, but for her response there are some key points to consider. So does the poem employ the same themes? Does she express a romantic sentiment? Is her calligraphy pleasing to the eye? How's the overall presentation? And what paper is she using? If a letter is adorned with beautiful handwriting, the standard Heian-era man, like myself, knows he has found a winner. Matthew Grubits writes that handwriting more than speech revealed a woman's character and breeding. Isn't it so romantic? No, not really, because this is between two children, so not romantic really. The family would be usually in charge of the correspondence, writing back and forth, although, you know, the children can have a go if they wish. After this courting has been going on for a long time, the boy would send a letter stating his intentions to visit, via poetry of course. Now, he would sneak out and visit her house. But I say sneak, but you don't sneak in Heian-era architecture. Everybody knows your comings and goings. There's not even doors, so there's no sneaking. He sneaks over to her house and he tries to enter her chamber, but her ladies in waiting, they deny him entry, and he says, please let me in, and they say no, and then he begs and they say no again, and then he says, if you don't let me in, I will die. And it's all very dramatic, but that is the tested and tried way of getting into someone's little room. So finally, the lady of the house, she's like, let him in. He enters, and there she is, standing before him, dressed to the nines, incredibly beautiful. Well, at least we can assume she's dressed to the nines and incredibly beautiful. It's very dark, and there's only a candle burning, so we can't really see much. But, I mean, it's the Heian-era, so of course she's going to be beautiful and dressed to the nines. That's all they cared about, right? So when you spend the night at someone's house in the modern era, what you do there obviously depends on what culture you've grown up in. So maybe your first night together happens after your marriage, or maybe it happens after your first date. There's a wide variety of options for the modern person. So I'll just use British culture as a reference here. Maybe it's the third date and you really like each other, and person A invites person B back to their apartment. And it's a little bit awkward at first, but that's what makes it fun. And, you know, person B just wants to kiss person A so badly, and one thing leads to another, and they end up in bed, and they do what two consenting adults like to do. Once done, maybe they talk for a while and fall asleep. Then at 6 a.m, the alarm rings. Person A has to go to work, and person B has to work from home. So person A feels a little bit anxious about what happened last night until they get a text message. A nice message. Person A can instantly relax, and from there they fall in love and they live happily ever after. Yay! Now I'm back to the Heian-era, please. So would you believe me if I told you that the protocol of spending the night is actually very similar to what I just described? The major differences in the Heian-era example here, we're talking about two children, and they wouldn't actually be expected to sleep together, thank God, but the protocol is what is the same. So he enters her chamber, they chat, they fall asleep, and as the dawn approaches, the boy curses the call of the cockerel, demanding that he leaves, because it announces the coming of the day. The girl is forlorn and heartbroken at the idea of his departure. He dresses. He leaves her lying there in the robes that they shared, and he heads back to their estate. Now from here, it is imperative that my hat's gonna fall off. Hold on. Okay, so from here it is imperative that he send her a message by midday to calm any of the anxiety she might be feeling. If he doesn't, the girl and the girl's family will consider that he is not interested and assume this to be some grave offence against their family. The message, often called the next morning letter, is described in The World of the Shining Prince by Ivan Morris as the reassuring telephone call of the Heian-Period. I guess it's the equivalent of sending a quick text message being like, hey, it was so nice to meet you last night, I can't wait to hang out again. So, I mean, the difference is that 1,000 years ago this would have been done on really nice and expensive perfumed paper, whereas now we would send the message via WhatsApp or line. Let's go over some examples of the next morning letter. In what way are you thinking about me? I feel anxiety. To you it may be commonplace to speak of love, but my feeling this morning, to nothing can it be compared. Whether commonplace or not, thoughts do not dwell upon it. For the first time I am caught in the toils. Now if this visit happens 3 nights in a row, by the 3rd night they are married! Yay! Congratulations! So the boy will enter and there'll be some small rice cakes waiting for them to share that would have been placed there by the girl's family. These are called mika-yo-mochi, so the 3rd night cakes. And they would have been all white or red and white. So the couple will be discovered by the girl's parents. Discovered. They knew he was there all along. But they'll be discovered by the girl's parents on the morning after the 3rd night together. And eventually the girl's dad will send him a message saying, I'm so happy you're my son-in-law, blah 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 blah. A few days later they'll have a massive feast to celebrate their marriage, and they'll partake in the exchanging of wine cups, which is called sansan kudo. So congratulations to the happy couple! Yay! Yippee! May their love last for an age and not be cut short by childbirth compilations that cause a lot of death in the Heian-Period. Okay, but where are they going to live? So you have 2 options. Number 1, you can live matrilocally, or, wait, let me read it. I can't say it.
Exoralocal.
But anyway, in layman's terms, it means that you live with your wife's parents or you live super close to their estate. Your other option is to live neolocally, which is to live completely away from either the husband's parents or the wife's parents, so completely separately. So in the case of 2 children, they'll probably end up living matrilocally because they're 2 children, they still need to be looked after by their parents. So that brings us to the end of our story. They lived happily ever after. Thank you so much, and join me for the next video. Unfortunately, this is not over because A not so fun fact about 8th to 12th century Japan is that, you know, same as everywhere before modern midwifery, the chances of death in childbirth were pretty damn high. Due to this, many male courtiers actually married more than once, and women would usually only marry once. And I say usually because actually divorce was open to women of the Heian-era, not in the way that we understand it, no legal proceedings, nothing to sign. They would just grow apart and that would be the divorce, but it was just simply decided between the couple. Let's continue with our boy, who is now a widowed man. Oh, very sad. So he will go back to the matchmakers, who are more than willing to suggest any number of girls from the relatively small pool of high-ranking women available to him. So our boy, now man, sparks up a correspondence with a beautiful woman who happens to be his aunt. Yikes, I know, but completely normal, don't worry. They marry, but they don't move into his aunt's wife's home. They instead live neo-locally. Remember, neo-locally is the one where you live completely separately to your wife's parents or the husband's parents. Our imagined courtier has now remarried, congrats! Let's say that one day our courtier's friend, the Minister of War, comes to share in some nice Chinese wine together, and he mentions his beautiful sister, who is not married and incredible at playing the koto. For those of you who don't know, the koto sounds like this and looks like this. At that moment, the prince is struck by his need to hear this beautiful woman playing the koto. So he tells his wife he has business at the palace, and he again, quick handbrake, he again sneaks out and heads over to her estate. Now he wants to catch a glimpse of her playing the koto. Now, for those of you who read The Tale of Genji, you'll be quite accustomed to this peeping Tom stalker-like behaviour from the upper class gentlemen of the Heian-era. But for those of you who have not read this masterpiece, then allow me to introduce you. And these are just the ones I took from the pictures from this book. So he would watch her, he would consider the season, the weather, her koto skills, and his his love for her. Then he would get to crafting his poem. If it all goes well and he ends up spending the night, he still has to send that next morning letter to avoid insulting anybody. Even if they're having just a simple affair and cohabitation is not the goal here, the next morning letter helps it helps not to insult his new lover. So relationships that begin in this form are actually littered throughout contemporary literature, and all great love affairs begin with poetry. Poems and affairs were inexplicably linked and are the key to hitting it off. So you got to practice poetry if you want to love like a Heian-era courtier. For poetry, Izumi Shikibu's diary is a really good record of romantic correspondence between herself and a prince. The English translations are so incredibly janky, and if anyone has any recommendations, please tell me. I'm begging you, they are all awful. But it's simple enough to understand the poetic correspondence, even if you are, at times, furious at your lover.
She is cold-hearted, and yet I cannot forget her. Time wipes out bitterness, but deepens longings, which today have overcome me. Are you coming? Scarcely believable are your words, for not even a shadow passes before my unfrequented dwelling.
So one more example I want to use is from the Ise Monogatari. And when I first read this, I thought it was the most romantic thing I had ever heard, but I read it to my friend in Japanese, and she said, actually, it is incredibly sexual. There was a double meaning I didn't know, and she laughed at me for about 5 minutes. So yes, enjoy what is practically Heian-era sexting.
If only I could change myself into a breeze, I would search for your chamber and enter between the slats of your beautiful blinds. Even if you were a breeze that no one could hinder, who would give you leave to enter my chamber through slats in the blind?
Okay, to recap, here are the basics of how to win the heart of a Heian-era woman. Step 1, be a noble. Step 2, make sure you write a good poem. Now, it can't just be good in the literary sense, it has to look pretty too. Step 3, spend the night and lament the call of the cockerel. Step 4, send your morning after letter, do not forget. Step 5, rinse and repeat until marriage, if that is what you want, but if you don't, you just want a bog standard affair, no problem, just skip to step 6. Because step 6 is continuing to swap poetry until one of you grows distant, dies, or cuts their hair in order to serve the Buddha. So, thank you so much for watching my simplified guide to Heian-era romance. Stay safe out there, folks, and maybe consider the next time that you want to send a message to a girl at 3 a.m. saying, "Are you up? Let's chat," maybe reconsider. Instead, why don't you just tell her that her absence leaves your sleeves wet with tears?